Shalom, shalom, everyone. Welcome to another Shabbat at Beulah Land at Temple Kifarim. Toda for tuning in. Toda for tuning in. This is the sixth, I believe, the sixth Shabbat, as Prince is putting up the numbers, that we are doing the stream platform. We hope that we have been serving you all properly with it. We're still getting some little kinks in, but I'm pretty happy with what we're doing. We're learning, we're growing together, and you all have been tuning in. So those that's listening back, this is for you as well. We're going to start off by saying what we're thankful for this morning. That's what we do. The first portion of the Shabbat class, and for those that's listening, that's online, whether you're on Facebook or whether you're on YouTube, please let us know what you're thankful for as well. Put it in the comment section. We will read it for you, and then we'll keep going from person to person. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic to none other than our spiritual leader here, Beulah Land Temple Kifarim, Prince Yisrael.
Shabbat shalom, family. Shabbat shalom. Let's get started. It's always something we got to rush to thank the Most High. Every morning we get up, the first thing we should do is rush to thank the Most High that He allowed us to have the breath of life. Give Him praise, glory, and honor. Here at Temple Kifarim, we pray 3 times a day, mandatory minimum, 3 times a day, 5 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and before you go to bed. You can pray as much as you want. You can pray as least as you want, but try to make it at least 3 times a day. All right. That's what a lot of the great men of Israel had done throughout the scriptures. Like Daniel, he prayed 3 times a day. And David, he prayed 3 times a day. You search the scriptures, you'll see these things. So we try to emulate those who we know that were great men in the sight of the Creator. And we try to habit ourselves after them. The things that they did that was favorable to the Creator, and that's the ones whose shoulders we stand on, and it allow us to go further in this way of serving this King. So all praises be to the Most High King of all creation. I pray that He will guide my mind, my spirit, my body, my language, and my speech as I present and approach unto you, His people. May the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah, Toda Rabbah, Toda Rabbah. Most High is good. All right, who would like to go first? All right, slow down, y'all. Y'all ain't all go at the same time. I seen all y'all pressing the button to go get. That's what I'm talking about. That's that energy. All right, Moreh, you got the floor. Moreh, you was first. Can't hear you, Moreh. Your phone is on mute.
You're on mute.
One of y'all got to come off mute.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, lekulam. I want to give praise to the Most High for life, for strength, for. Sorry, it's just hard with that. For my Beulah family. Definitely want to give thanks to the Most High for my South Carolina family, my Illinois family, for those in the chat. It's been a great week, as you can see. I have this big smile on my face. We had, I would say, overall an amazing and very fun week. I was grateful that we were able to come together as a Mishpachai's family, just to gather. For the school, we were able to gather for the Eladim. I was grateful for the support and for the encouragement that was on the children's faces when we got to see them. Then I'm also grateful that me and Princess were able to be children again. Oh my goodness, I'm still sore. We had so much fun, y'all. We really did. And I'm just grateful for even the things that happened with my household, my Ish and I. Like I say, I'm grateful for the small things. So y'all be cooking like, I'm grateful I can cook this. I'm grateful I can make this. So I'm just grateful for the Most High, for life, for strength, for just everyone being in a good mood and good spirit today. This is truly the day that the Most High has made. And I'm grateful for life, and I'm forever grateful for His mercy and for His compassion, and for the little things that He does for us. We are His children, so I believe that He truly um, delights in our happiness, and I'm grateful for the things that He allows us to do to even live out that happiness with ourselves, with our inner peace, and even with those around us. Again, thankful for everyone, because it is a sacrifice what you all do, and I'm grateful, especially to my Ish, for everything he does for our household. Grateful for Princess, grateful for Autumn, grateful for you, Prince. I'm grateful for those in the audience, like I say, because to live this life, it is not grievous, but let me tell you, it does come with tests, and it comes with a lot of trials. And I'm just grateful that we're all able to keep on pressing for the Most High. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. May the Most High be praised. That's what I'm talking about. You said something very important too. You said it is testing, and you're absolutely right. This whole lifestyle, this whole life journey that we're on is a test. People test you frequently, constantly. The important thing is trying to make sure we pass that test, because that's what's most important. Being acceptable to the Creator to pass the test. Creator tests us daily, monthly, weekly, almost in every dying moment that we have. We're being tested by the Almighty. But the important thing is that you remain consistent, diligent, and you walk through each test, learning from the mistakes that you made. I was having a conversation with my Isha today about, was it today or yesterday? Yesterday. You know what? I'll probably save that for my testimonial period, because I think that'll be a good testimony. So let's go on to the next person. May the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah. Isha, you remind me to bring up my conversation about yesterday that I was talking to you about, in case I forget. You know, we men, we need our women to back us up with our mind, with our memory. All right, who want to be next? Who want to be next? Look at all the people running. I think Isha, Ima, I think you said next. I think you said you wanted to go next. Is that right, Ima?
Sure, why not?
Oh, okay.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Absolutely thankful for the Shabbat day again, making it to another week, because the weeks we go through can be long, can be stressful, can be hard, and the Most High we're not promised to make it through another Shabbat, to another Shabbat. It's like when you thankful for your birthday, it's all, I feel the same way. Like, you don't get to make it through another year. You don't get to make it through another Shabbat day. And the Shabbat day is such a blessing because the Most High, adorned it in that way. He gave it to us as a present, as a gift. So I'm thankful that every week I get to embrace this gift, grab onto it, hold on to it, try to sleep longer than I normally do. Sometimes I get awakened out of my sleep by people, want to call me early in the morning. But I'm thankful that the Most High has blessed me to get to this week. As my spiritual Bati said, like, this week was very great. Like, sometimes we go through some hard weeks, we get disappointments and things, but this week was great. Despite any of the negative stuff that may have come, we had a great time with the Yeladim. I mean, for me, it was great. My Bati and I drove with my youngest daughter. We drove her to my cousin, who then escorted her, and they all went to Africa together. So that was something very special for me to be able to, do that, and then have, just have that moment. Before we went, my daughter, she was like, I want to go to the nail shop and get my toes done, which she never does. But she has to wear sandals and stuff in Africa. So I was like, oh, look at her growing up. I didn't even suggest it. So, we went together, and, just getting her prepared for this trip was just so engaging and amazing for us to be able to do that together. And I'm thankful that my family, like, everybody just showed up for her, and just supporting her in this process. And, because even though she went with my aunt and my cousins, it's kind of like she's still going alone because she's not with me or her siblings or her Abba Prince here. And so it's kind of like we sending her off. I sent them a long message about what y'all gonna do to make sure my daughter's good, else I'll be on a flight to Africa. But I'm thankful, you know, that I was able to put her in my family's hands. And I know that she'll be protected. Like, as soon as she got to Africa, she called me, and um, my cousin's father, who's there, who I haven't seen since I was a little girl, he got on the phone all happy and like, oh, your daughter's here. We got her. No worries. Like, the whole village is like, they ready to take care of her. So I'm happy about that and that reassurance. And first question he asked me, when you coming to Senegal? So of course we got to prepare to go to Senegal. So yes, I'm thankful, and they made it. They made it. She's there readjusting to time. She's on YouTube. She says shalom to everybody, so I'm happy she's here. And I'm just super thankful, and like Amona said, sore because we was at Urban Air jumping like we were 5 or something. I don't know, but it was like doing what is that? What were we doing? Obstacle courses and things. It was like, okay, y'all. Woo. But we had a good time. And then we were able to go and support 2 of our students who actually participated in an art show in Augusta. And they had their artwork up there. And it was just beautiful. And they were so excited that we came. They're super shy. But their mom, their email kept saying, are they coming? Are they coming? And once we got there, you could see that they were so happy we were there. They hugged us. We took pictures. So it was just a blessing to be able to ride down with you know, thankful that Brother Antoine drove us there with his children. And, you know, we all just had a great time as a family, as a school, you know, enjoying the time together. And we was like, oh yeah, we got to do this once a month, you know, like it's just it was very invigorating and excited. And it's just a common thing that we got to get used to doing stuff together. So yeah, you know, I can keep going because I got a lot to be thankful for, but I'm thankful for my Ish. We had some great conversations this week just about life and growth and the different things that we are pushing towards. And there's some strides that we've made and we're just continuously closer and closer to where we're striving to be. So I'm just thankful that the Most High is blessing the steps that, you know, we have taken. And I pray that he continues to bless our steps. So Toda Shalom, everybody.
Well, may the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah, Toda Rabbah, Toda Rabbah. That was a whole lot. Well, I was thinking of all this type of stuff that I wanted to say when you was going, but you just kept going, kept changing the subject, kept going, kept changing the subject, kept going. I was like, oh man, forget it. You said a whole lot. You got a lot to be thankful for, as we should, because we don't realize the amount of things that the Most High does for us, how he protects us and brings us throughout one simple day. And then when you go a whole week and you get this little bit of time to thank the Most High, it's really not enough time to really thank the Most High for everything. It's really not enough time, but we do our best and we try to jump on those main points. So yes, you said a whole lot, and may the Most High be praised. All right. Is there anyone else want to thank the Most High for anything special? You got the floor. Y'all don't need my permission. Just if anybody talking, just take it. Go for it. Just jump up in that joint and get it on.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom. I'm basically just thankful for the Most High keeping me throughout the week and allowing me to get to a Shabbat and get to the end of my work week. I now have 2 weeks of break, which I am so looking forward to. I'm looking forward to rest. And I'm thankful that the Most High brought me through this month because it was just very, very tiring in general. For me, at least, for multiple reasons. But yeah, I'm really just thankful for that. And I'm looking forward to rest. And I am looking forward to spending a few weeks with my family down in GA and Beulah. And I'm thankful that my husband has the ability to drive us there. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. May the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah, Toda Rabbah, Toda Rabbah. All right. So it's a whole lot to be thankful for. A whole lot to be thankful for. All right. We got Zekiah. All right. Zekiah says, I am thankful for the Most High. I am thankful that he protects me and my family while we were in the air. I am thankful I could be here this Shabbat all the way over here. Wow. You're right. all the way in the air that whole time. The Most High is good. Sister Aisha says, I am thankful for the power of love and goodwill. May the Creator be praised. Seeds do flourish. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I think I seen Sister Tusia. No? I thought I saw Sister Tusia's. Shabbat Shalom, sis. If I'm not here, something is wrong. I'm always looking forward to the powerful alignment and words that come forth from brutal land. Love y'all. All night that night, you're great to make me cry, sis. You're great to bring me to tears. All praise to the Most High for another day of life, another Shabbat day for the life of my family and community. Greatly that He is continuing to reveal Himself to us. May the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah. All right. Anyone else? I think you guys, all you gotta do is type it in the room, and if you're on Facebook, all you gotta do is type it in the room, put your name, and we'll read it for you. This is the time to thank the Most High, to acknowledge this King.
Shabbat shalom, lekulam. Can you all hear me?
Shabbat shalom, Nikah.
Just want to give. First, I want to thank the Most High for another day of life. I also want to honor my parents. I was thinking about that a little while ago. I know a lot of us in this walk, we give honor, praise to the Most High, and then those that's close to us that we know in this walk and things like that. And then, we'll say something about our family. But it was pricked in my spirit a few days ago, like, man, before I teach, before I speak, after I give honor to the Most High, I want to give honor to my parents, because I wouldn't be able to do any of these things that's happening right now. The things that He's allowing, Most High is allowing me to come forth in the near future for you all, and just things with my Ishada, things with the Beulah family, things like that. I wouldn't be able to do any of that if it wasn't for, first and foremost, the Most High, and then my parents. So I want to give honor to my Ab and my aim. And then I'm just thankful for peace. I say that often because we have things that go on in our life that can be tough sometimes. And I kind of go back to some of the prophets. I think of some of their. I think Prince brought this out, or someone I was talking to brought this out, as far as some of the prophets doing that what was right and still had to go into captivity. I think that was Yirmiyahu, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe that was Chief Prince Ebulan I was speaking with, but somebody I spoke to. And it just made me think of, like, a lot of us here as teachers, or just as Yisrael, because we're still a light to the rest of the world. So we're still teachers in our own right, as Prince would say, that we're going to go through stuff. We are going to go through stuff. It is inevitable. No matter what level you are at, for that person at their level, they feel the same. They feel the same way that you feel, even if their level is greater or less than yours in the eyesight of society when it comes to, finances or notoriety or whatever it might be. They feel the same way that you feel at their level. And it's hard for some of us to fathom that, because we're like, man, if I was there or this and that, I wouldn't know. They feel the same way. So at their respective levels. So I'm just thankful for that. And also, in the near future, I'll be sharing something with you all that I'm extremely thankful for as well. Not today, but soon. And it's an honor of what I'm going to present as well. So that's all I wanted to bring out. Toda. Shalom.
All right. Toda Rabbah. Man, Most High be praised. I can't wait to see what it is you about to bring out, boy. Gonna be world reflecting, gonna change the foundation of Israel. That's what I'm talking about. You gotta expect great things from great men. You know what I mean? If he say he about to give you something, he about to give you something. It ain't gonna be something you're gonna look at and say, all right. It's gonna be something profound, something that you can utilize to help change your life, to motivate you to get closer to the Creator. That's what it's about. All right, my turn. I couldn't wait for this time, boy. It was my turn. I want to talk so bad. I couldn't wait till y'all hurry up and wait. I wanted to hurry up and talk. Ain't that how y'all be when it's your turn? You got so much goodness you want to give to the Creator. You be like, hurry up. I just want to take the mic. I know it's how it is when I be on the phone with my wife and we be having a conversation and she just start talking in the midst of me talking. I be like, yo, I was just talking. She like, she'll just be burning inside of her. She just want to get out. So I'll be like, all right, go ahead, man. Just go ahead, talk. That's how it be. But I understand that feeling because you be feeling good about the Creator. You be feeling good about what the Most High has done for you, and you just be wanting to get it out. So I can relate. I know what it's like. May the Most High be praised. So, I had a very taxing week this week. I'm thankful to the Creator that He brought me through, and I'm gonna say my message before, and Creator will, I'm gonna say my message afterwards. Now, ain't gonna be before. Never give up. Always be persistent in what you desire to see the outcome of. So I go back and I'll hopefully create it. If I don't forget, I'll say that at the end of my message. So all week long, I've been having all these jobs that I had to do around these apartment buildings down here in North Philadelphia. People call me, this ain't working, that ain't working. I mean, my week was so busy. I had my niece come into town last week, and I forgot to check on her to see if her plane landed and if she arrived safely because I was so overwhelmed with work. I didn't get off of work until late that day, right before Shabbat, took a bath, came home, and went to sleep on the bed. That was last Rishishi. And I didn't mean to do that because that's my girl, and I need to be taking care of her. She's coming from a different city. She's coming to Philly. I'm thankful that I'm here, that I'm alive, and we made up for that. Or that wasn't even, was that Shishi or Shishi? I'm not sure what day it was. One of them days last week. So we made up for it. It was Shishi.
It was Shishi.
Yeah, it was Shishi. So we made up for it. Good, cool. But since last week, people's heaters been breaking. People ain't have no running water. The same people heater break again. Now this person's drain is clogged up, and I gotta fix all that stuff within a small window because the daylight time runs out quick. So I'm running, and it's so much. Every day that I made an accomplishment, I was thankful. I said to the Creator, I was thankful. Now, this Shishi comes around. We go down to a license and inspection to get these building permits. We had applied for them. One of them we applied a week ago. This one we was applying today, or Shishi. This Shishi is today. So we go there at 8:30 in the morning. Our appointment was at 9:40. My partner never showed up. He showed up, but he was late. He was late. So I'm at the place. I'm doing all the paperwork. I'm on the phone with him, making sure I got everything right. Get all my paperwork done. Now, mind you, keep in mind, the day before that, it was getting late. So I knew my appointment was early in the morning the following day. So I had to go and get the blueprints printed out the night before to Staples. And I was at Staples for a long time getting the blueprints printed out so we will be prepared the next day early in the morning. So I'm tired. I get home. I'm sleepy. It's like 8, 9 o'clock now. I'm dragging in the house from a hard day of work of all that other work that I was doing. So get the license and inspection the next day. He's dragging his feet. I'm there about 8:30. The appointment is an hour later. I'm there early, just making sure we right. He finally shows up. We get to go to the adjuster, the people who we put the paperwork in. And they, no. Before we go to the adjuster, we're on the side dealing with the city with other issues about another permit we put in. A permit we put in last month. They tell us, oh, this permit, you need another thing from the engineer to get this permit through. You can't get this permit through. Oh, man. We waited a whole month for them to tell us we couldn't do it because we needed another form. So while we get the document to print out that we need another form, we go over to the other counter to address the issue with the reason why we're there for this new building permit. So we go to the counter with the building permit. The man looked at the prints for 1 second. It didn't take him but maybe 30 seconds to look at them prints and say, oh, no, this ain't no good. We can't use these. The prints that I printed out wasn't the finalized stamped seal version from the architect. The prints I printed out all the night before, spent all my money and time getting, was the wrong prints. All that time and work. So we go back. Now, if you're following me carefully, that was two major things that we had in progress that both failed. They kicked out the original permit for the building permit, and then they kicked out this one for the make safe permit. They kicked both of them out. Said you ain't got what you need. Now anybody else would have gave up. What I say, don't never give up on your desires, your goals, whatever you set. It might take some time. It might be a little difficult. The world might look like it's collapsing on you, but don't give up. So I get on the phone. I call the architect who gave me the prints that I drew the wrong prints. I printed out the wrong copy. I get on the phone. I call them. The lady answers the phone. I say, hey, listen, I got these prints from y'all on October or August the 10th, 2022. 2022, August the 10th, over a year ago. I said, well, I printed the prints, but I don't have the stamped version. Can you please send me a copy of the stamped version? Remember, this is the time we thanking the Most High. Remember that, y'all, right? I haven't spoken to these people since then on no real stuff. She sends me the copy of the stamped version. Let me tell you, the man says to me when I get off the phone, he says, what engineer was that? What architect firm was that? So I gave him the name. He said, I've been here all these years and I ain't never seen nobody get through to the firm that quick to get the results that you just got just now. I ain't never seen it. I said, oh, thank the Most High for it. So now, she didn't give me the things right then. She said she's going to mail them to me. So that took some time. When I left that building, I didn't have nothing I needed. So the engineer for the other document was a whole totally different firm. I called this guy, I gets him on the phone. He want to holler and scream and fuss. You ain't nobody told you to do that. This is him talking to me. I said, yo, ho, wait a minute. You don't raise your voice to me. I don't know who you think he was talking to. He must have forgotten my name was Prince. I said, oh, man, you don't raise your voice to me. Who you think you're talking to? You think I'm one of your children, don't you? I said, I'm not one of your children. I'm telling you what I need, and I need you to get it here for me as soon as possible. He fussed. He said he ain't doing nothing. I said, okay, no problem. So I walks out of the building. Now this time I'm frustrated because I know, babe, I be saying you take so long, but I'm taking a long time this time, ain't I? So I walk out of the building and I'm frustrated now. Took me all day to get this done. I'm walking out of the building. I'm like, oh man, I felt like I failed because I put so much time and energy into getting these things done, only to tell me that both of the things that I put so much time, energy, and money into failed. So I walked out of the building and my mind just kept racing on different ways to get these things done. My man sent me the documents that I needed from the engineer that was fussing on the phone, that was raising his voice and told me he wasn't doing nothing. I sent it to him and I wrote him a little letter underneath of it. Told him what I needed and this is what needs to be done. And I left it alone. So I'm riding around the city trying to figure out how I'm going to get these things done. And all of a sudden it hit me. I got the first email with the corrected blueprints. Time is running out now because the place closed at 3 o'clock. The last people that let come in is like 2:30, 2:40. So if I didn't get there by 2:40, it's now 1 o'clock. If I didn't get there by 2:40, it takes 45 minutes just to print out the drawings. So, and I'm all the way on the other side of the city. If I don't get there within an hour and a half to 2 hours, it don't get done. So I rode downtown. I went to the Staples downtown after I got her drawings. I rode downtown, went to the Staples, sat with the guy, put my order in. He had them for me in less than 15 minutes. And I was like, yay. So now I walk over to the building. I walk back to the building to put in the drawings for my plans. I give them the prints. The machine breaks, the computer break. So the machine was down for about 30 minutes where they couldn't do nothing on their computer to log my information. So I'm sitting there waiting. And you wonder, the normal person, even me at that time, man, a machine break, it must not be meant to be. But no, the Most High be having other plans sometimes. Things that you think are preventing you from doing what you're doing, The Most High does it so that he can hold up the process in some things. So while I'm sitting there doing that and the machine breaks, the other guy sent me what I needed from him, the documents. I think it came then or they came a little bit later. It might have came a little bit later, but he sent them to me. I got everything I needed that day. Both things that was failures turned out to go through, and it was all because I was persistent and I wouldn't give up. I made prayer to the Creator, and the Creator came through. All I'm saying is, family, and this is the last time I'm going to say it, this is what I meant to say. When you are determined to fulfill your goals, no matter what the journey looks like, do not give up. Be determined, be persistent, and don't quit. And if you go to the Most High with a great mind, a great spirit, and a great aura surrounding you, you'll be fine. And that's what he did for me just the other day. And that's what I'm super, 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 super grateful for and thankful for. Let alone my life. I thank the Most High for my life. I thank the Most High for the life of all of you. But that was a message that I was able to share and try to get other people to see, because I know a lot of you, you're going through the everyday struggles of life, and sometimes it looks so difficult. It looks like no matter what you do, you ain't good. You don't get a break. It looks like it's so hard for you. Nobody's really there to help you. But what I'm saying to you is, do not give up the fight. So many people are weak. They will go somewhere and a rope be around their neck and they dangling from somewhere, all because they got difficult times in life in their face. Do not give up the fight. This is about difficulty. Anything worth having, most of the times you got to fight for it. Most of the times. Sometimes just fall in your lap. But most of the times you got to fight for it. And if you're trying to excel above that caliber that the most of the other people are, you're going to have to fight hard for what it is that you desire to have. It's not going to always happen when you think it's supposed to happen. A lot of times it's going to happen when the Most High sees that you are ready for it and you're best suited for it. And then he makes miracles take place. This king is good. He don't make mistakes. He know what he's doing. It's us who sometimes doesn't understand what the Most High is doing. I don't care what it looks like in your life. It will be hard. It'll even get harder. It'll even look worse. Ultimately, the Most High has a reward for those who are patient and diligent with his methods. But don't give up. A lot of times you're learning things along the way that you're going to need when he gives you that blessing. And ain't nothing like a man who's went through the war and learned what persistency is versus a man who's just given everything because he asked for it. You appreciate it so much more. Plus, your knowledge is a lot stronger when you have been through the war and you got the war scars and everything upon your mind and your brain so that you can achieve what you're achieving. And then when you get to the end of it, you're like, oh man, I'm so thankful. But the person that is always just given to out of the sky, just falling in their lap, they're grateful, but they don't really appreciate unless they had to struggle for it. Y'all understand what I'm saying? That struggle, man, after that struggle is over and you get to thank the Most High, it is so much better. And you can feel the praise that you give to the King inside your inward parts. Yes. All right. Any other comments or questions, family? I mean, anybody else want to thank the Most High? Y'all want to throw some praises up in the windows? All right. Toda Rabah for putting it in a cult war spirit to call yesterday. Toda Rabah to the Most High to check on Noah. Oh, the baby. That call was very unexpected. But to see all that shows you is the genuineness of people and how she is. That Sister Laura is phenomenal. Let me tell you, she'll jump on you at any moment just because the Creator put it on her spirit. And she will call you. She don't care who you is. She'll get your number if she ain't got your number, and she'll call you. Let the Most High put on your spirit, on her spirit, and watch she reach out to you, just like you're testifying to. Giving honor and praise to our Creator for allowing us to see another Shabbat day. Giving thanks and praises to our Father for allowing my husband to see the breathe another year of life. May the Most High be praised. Tell my bro I said happy birthday. May the Most High continue to elevate him. Tell her bye. All right. So would anyone else like to thank the Most High for anything special? We were actually waiting for our speaker. We had a speaker coming in today. And okay, let me see. He just let me see what he just said. I think he's asking for 15. Roche, did you speak with him?
Yeah, he said 15 minutes.
Okay. Ain't no problem. We ain't got no problem. 15 minutes easy. Yes, Ema.
I would just like to say that I'm thankful for a couple of sisters who have been reaching out to me this week, and just being an inspiration to one another, and a couple of families that I've been talking to who have experienced great losses in this week. A few of the sisters that I just met and have known for a while, mothers passed within these last 2 weeks. And just being able to be here as a listening ear and a word to them has been healing for me, because, my mom passed, and even though it was 7 years ago, a lot of times it feels like just yesterday. A lot of people tell you in time, but a mother is a vessel that is never replaced. No matter how many years or what's the distance, there's nothing in this world that can replace the physical presence of your mother. So the loss, feeling their loss and hearing their emotions, and even the physical pain that comes with that, just hearing their testimonies, it just, inspires me that we need to really be there for one another, because everybody experiences loss differently, but loss is something tremendous. And losing a parent, like, I look at parents as your protective cover, the physical protective cover in this world. We know that the Most High is your ultimate cover, but he gave you parents, and when their vessels, when their physical is no longer here, you feel completely uncovered in many ways. You feel unprotected, because those people, especially your mom, you came through her womb, and your father, especially if you had great parents present in your life, your father, is that protection, who's always there ready to defend you, take care of you, lift you up. And so, just to watch them go through this, it's been a blessing for me to be able to be here for them, even though it, brings about sadness. I know it helps to be encouraged by others when you're going through something, so detrimental. We all know death is going to happen no matter what, but no matter how much you prepare, you're never prepared to, say goodbye, and to, your life becomes a whole different life without that person. So I just pray that the Most High continues to be with each and every one of them, especially those who recently lost their parents or children, and all of us who have experienced this throughout our life, because it's never a day that you don't wake up and desire to hold their hand, talk to them, kiss them, whatever it is, just hear those encouraging words. So I encourage others, with your parents still here, embrace them, love them, respect them, honor them, because once you no longer have the physical space to do it, you don't get another chance to do that. And just be thankful. So
May the Most High be praised. Torah. And that's so very important. So very important that we acknowledge our parents while they're here. And most of us, well, a lot of us are parents, and our children could think twice about acknowledging us. They do it in their little ways, but sometimes to us it's not enough. We open up and we express to them, and if they really care, they'll do a little more. But if they don't, then they just going to continue to do what it is that they do. And guess what? As a parent, you cannot stop doing what you're doing because you feel some kind of way about it. You still got to do your job. So, you're thinking about great parents, Iman, when you speak. You're talking about great parents. But there are some parents who don't do their job as parents, and the children can't wait to get old enough to get away from. But those who do their job, we do have to acknowledge them through this life of how wonderful a job they do, because you never know what it's like until it's your turn. And let me tell you, I remember wanting to hurry up and grow up. And then when I got grown, I said, oh, let me go back to being a child again. It was so much easier when you didn't have all this responsibility.
Absolutely.
You know, all these people you had to provide for and take care of. And I'm talking about people you ain't even birth. You know, and all they do is give you their backside to kiss and turn their backs on you and talk nasty and disrespectful to you. And you still got to be persistent and go on. It's almost like the Creator does with the nation of Israel today. All that He do for us, and we just give Him our backside to kiss for the most part.
Yeah.
But guess what? He still continues to do. Yes, Ema.
I'm sorry. I just got to mention one more thing. So my great niece was born on Tuesday, December the 12th. And it was so emotional because we were all on WhatsApp while my niece, who I helped to raise, and she lived with me throughout her life at different points when my sister needed assistance. And we had a WhatsApp call where we were all on video. It was just us females in the family. It was myself and three of my sisters and basically all of our daughters, all my three daughters, my sister's daughter, and one of my other nieces. And it was just amazing to be there because we couldn't physically be there. She actually went into labor a month before she was supposed to. We were all planning to get to Miami in January because she said, Auntie, she was like, Auntie, I really want you to be there. You're going to be my support. So I was like, I got you. And they called us and let us know. They called me like all through the night, 2 a.m., 5 a.m. Oh, she's this many centimeters. What are we going to do? She wants Pitocin. She wants this. Like, she was just going through her motions. She really, when she first got there, she was like, I don't want no drugs. I'm going to do this all natural. And I said, whatever you decide to do is perfectly fine for you. Don't worry about what everybody's opinions are, because childbirth is between you and that baby at that moment. Like, your pain, whatever you can't take, nobody can take it away from you but the Creator. And if you feel like, hey, the Most High is allowing you to get this pain medication, do what you got to do, right? So we just talking through it. And she says, she gets to a point, I want the epidural. So she gets the epidural. And it actually relaxed her whole body. You know, sometimes, and I'm going to be real, I have 5 children. Sometimes that pain is so intense that your mind can't even calm itself down so that you could breathe through and work through the pain so that you can help the baby do what it's supposed to do and your body naturally do it. Pain can be a very unpredictable nail. Like, it just, whew. So, and I had the epidural twice, I believe. Yeah, twice out of my 3 deliveries, right? But the beautiful thing for me was that we were all there through those last moments when she became 10 centimeters and completely effaced everything, and she was ready to push. And the other beautiful part was she's not married, but the beautiful part was the father of the child was present the whole time. And I say that's beautiful because so many young single women who just out here doing whatever, the fathers don't be present at all. Once you, whatever, they drop it, you're not in a relationship with him, they're not even there. So I looked at that as a blessing in so many ways, because that means he's workable. We can, as a family, because he don't even have a family. His mother is not alive. His father, he don't have a relationship with his father. So I'm like, well, what can we do as a family to bring him in so he can, have a family? And but anyway, the blessing was watching all of us as that baby started to descend and come through. Everybody just poured crying because it was just to be there, all of us one together. And it was virtually, we were there, but she felt every part of it. And she was so happy that we were there. And it was just a blessing because I'm looking like, wow, my niece just had a baby, and I'm watching her because I've known her since she was a baby. And it's just something of a miracle when you see it, and I've been there in the physical form when people had babies and everything. And it's always an emotional process. It's an emotional process to see life come out of another life. So I'm just thankful that the Most High allowed us to be there, and just to experience that all together. My family, we do a lot of things together, and we try to make sure that these important moments we stick together, because it's so hard out here for so many people. So I'm just thankful that I have, the family that I have, and we were able to be there for my niece, and continuously be there. Like, I was on the phone with her this morning for about an hour and a half for some other things going on with the baby, and it's just a blessing. So told on the Most High for allowing that life to come to fruition, and Creator willing, her life will be blessed, through all of us and being a part of her community. So
It sounds like it was a safe delivery.
yeah, it was pretty safe. The baby had some prior issues. They thought she was going to be born with a curved spine, and she does have a cyst on her brain. So they're doing different things, but she's supposedly, Creator willing, being discharged today, and they just want to monitor her over the year to check on the cyst. But all in all, her spine was perfect. We told her, you're not getting none of that. She told them, people at the hospital, I don't want none of that stuff in her eyes. We don't need the vitamin K, all this stuff that they kept saying she has to have. I said, she doesn't need it. We didn't have it. You didn't have it. Your baby don't need it. We are perfectly fine. So yes, Most High allowed her to have a safe delivery. And I'm just thankful, that the baby's here, she's here, because we hear a lot of cases, especially in Black women deliveries, of the immortality of women passing away, or the babies passing away through childbirth, and the lack of care, knowledge, or even just support that we as a people, have for one another through these processes. And these hospitals, they do not care about, those immortality rates. They just don't. So, we have to be an advocate, like I had to actually speak to the nurse and let her know I'm an advocate for my niece. Even though I'm not there physically, I'm on this phone, and I'm gonna be on this phone the whole time. And if my niece needs something, I'm going to speak on her behalf. And I let her know this is not an attack. But just as if I'm physically there, we have to have advocates for each other, because when you're going through childbirth, your brain is not in the same capacity to take the information as if you are just, normally, like anytime you're sick, if you're in the hospital, you need an advocate. You need someone to stand by there and say, hey, I didn't understand that. Can you explain? Can you relay it to me what they said? So having an advocate is very important. I never send my family to the hospital. That's a security thing that we have in our family. No one ever goes to the hospital by themselves, and no one's ever left alone, because you never know what can happen to them. You never know what is being said to them. So you have to be there to hear what they're saying, and to be able to relay it to not just the patient, but to the family, and have somebody there to understand and stand for that person that's in the hospital that cannot stand for themselves at the time. So, it was a combination of different things happening, and I'm just thankful. Okay, thumbs up.
All right. May the Most High be praised. May the Most High be praised. There was a whole lot said in there. I mean, I'm like both ways. You know how I feel about the situation. I'm like in the middle. I know we got to support our family. I know we got to be there for them. We got to help them, especially when they're young. We got to give them direction. We got to counsel them in times, and we got to guide them. And we should start that as young as possible, leading them in the right direction. And like you said, when her mom was having difficult times, she could rely on you to come get her child and keep her child for a period of time. So that shows the character that you have as well. All that's good. It's me. I'm just like, I don't know if I'm emotionalist. I mean, I don't know if I don't have no emotions, but I lean more toward what's right and wrong, and I try to stay on the side of righteousness at all times. And even when it ain't like on the side of righteousness, it's on the side of right versus wrong. And I have a hard time, just me, and I'm not saying that you all have to be this way, but I have a hard time when somebody do something wrong, and then we try to make them feel right about what they did wrong. I have a hard time doing it. It's just me. And I'm not saying that everybody else has to. It's just me. Like if somebody steals a car and gets locked up, and he gets locked up for 3 years, when he come home, they throw him a coming home party. I don't understand it. He was guilty. He stole a car. Why we give him a celebration? Because he made it through jail. He would have never been in jail if he wouldn't have stole a car. So why we give him a coming home party celebration? We would have never missed him had he not stolen a car. I don't know. It's just me. Like I said, sometimes I think I'm emotionalist, but your family is unbelievable. My wife's family, as I say all the time, and remember, we wait for the Moreh of the day to show up, but her family is unbelievable. And for them all to be on that call on FaceTime because they couldn't be in there in person, I could believe that because that's what they do. They just strong like that. They some powerful families. They're an example for Black families across the world. That's how I feel because I know how they are. Very supportive. I was just I was in the house today and I spilled some coconut oil on a book that her sister wrote, Aisha. She wrote a book. And I spilled some coconut oil on it. And I was telling my wife, I said, I'm in that book. Because she put me in her book. What made her put me in her book? It's like she didn't have to do that. And I would have still read the book. But she did. It's because that their family, once they accept you, you in. The hard part is getting in. Because they got a wall of defense like the military around their family. And it's good. It's good. It's the way that it needs to be. So I know I got a soldier with her. I ain't worried about that. She's of her own breed. And that's a good thing. And it's good to have a supportive family like you do. Yes, it's great, Roche. Great. Yes, Moreh. Can't hear you.
Shalom, can I be heard? I just want to add on to what Prince was saying about Princess Medaya's family. I am a witness to their hospitality. Even when a family is being protective, they're still very balanced about it. I've been to several occasions with Princess Medaya and the Mishpacha and the family, and they treated me like I was family. It was that one word or that one introduction, and it was almost like, well, if Princess Medaya knows them, then they must be family. When we took that 2-hour or 3-hour ride to take Ezekiel to Princess Cousin's place, we arrived there and we stayed there until the cousin got back. And when she came back, she greeted me and everything. She was very nice to me. And I told Princess, I said, your family is so kind. Every family member I've met of her, I've never been treated like an outsider or I've never been side-eyed or anything like that. They came with open arms. And I'm just grateful for that. Like I say, your family is an example of representation of what we would call so-called Black or melanated families. And that's something for me that's big because I came up in a big family. And the one thing about marrying into a big family or meeting a big family, everybody that grew up together is accustomed to being protective because you go through so much stuff in life that is disappointing. You go through hurt, heartbreak, breakups, things like that. And the family has to be the core and the foundation that keeps everybody together, that keeps some type of stability because you have family members that can go back to their family if something happens. You have family members that if something happens, there's a tragedy, they go to family. So I have always been a stickler, and that's even our ministry. Family is so important. Family is so important. And I love family. I'm a family person. I love children. I love to see families together. I love melanated Hebrew, so-called Black love, because it's a foundation for our little ones who are born and not yet born. Because I'm a stickler. We have to have some type of example outside of the negative stereotypes that are on us as a people to help our children. Because if we let social media and television alone try to guide them, they're going to be disappointed and led astray. So I'm grateful that there are people in real life, in real time, that are a representation of so-called Black families. And meeting her family, I can truly say I felt the love. It wasn't phony. It was absolutely genuine. And I'm grateful for it because we need it. You know how they tell me we need food, we need shelter, we need clothes. No, this is something we absolutely need. And that is stability and a foundation of family. So I'm definitely a witness. Definitely.
Zehu, okay. How's that? That's it. All right, here we. I don't know the family you experienced. I don't know what family that was that you experienced. That must mean that you got a special spirit and you just gravitated towards you naturally. Because that family is not easy to be acceptable of nobody. Nobody. I mean, once you in, that's cool. You great. But in the beginning, you see that you must be special. They must have gave you the pass from the door because she probably was talking about you for months and months and months ahead of time. And then they finally meet you and it was cool. But when that family is like this, when you come around and you greet, the men give you the strong arm like that. Hey, shalom, they give you a shake, but it's a distance. And the sisters, they give you a hug, but it ain't the same hug you get after a year of a hug. Now, after a year, you get a hug, you be like, oh, she must like me. Oh, yeah, she like you because they accept you. But when they first meet you, they're not disrespectful by no way. They like the high-class, sophisticated, disrespectful type. You won't even know you're being shunned. You won't even know it because it's still high superior level to the average person. But at the same time, they're not letting you in that circle. You in. If they did all that to you, you felt all that good. Man, I mean, they do. Some people, they would just gravitate and grab them by the neck and just say, hey, you want us. Well, let me tell you, how long did it take? Maybe a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 2 years before I got to sit down with the brother and give him a handshake. That family is like secured, like the president's security. I'm telling you, they like hard to penetrate, but it's okay. That's my family, and I wouldn't replace them. They the bomb. They the truth. A one of them. They me, and I mean, what? Shit. So that's the end of that. My brother, Shabbat Shalom. What's up, bro?
Hey, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom.
All right. Good to have you, bro. We was waiting for you. We making up subjects just to kill time. But it was all good. It was all good because it was the truth.
I apologize for the delay, but I'm definitely here. And I was sending out the invites, reminding everybody that I was going to be on this afternoon. So I don't see those guys here yet, but you know how Israel is. They're late.
Yeah, they late. That's
Shalom, Moreh. Quick question for you, if you allow. Did you send them the YouTube link? Do you need the YouTube link? I could resend that to you. I sent you the backstage StreamYard link. You want the
Actually,
YouTube?
I'm going to be sharing my screen, so to share my screen, I would do what?
No. I was talking about for the people you was trying to send it to. Did you want them to have a YouTube link? I could send it to you so you'll have it.
They have the YouTube link.
Okay. For you to share, just press present on your screen. It should say present. You click that and press share, and then I'll make it available for you.
Okay. You said present settings, stream this into your audience.
present next to settings. You see it?
Yes, be next to settings.
Okay, settings.
Do you see something that say present next to the settings?
No, there isn't. It just has
Right.
comment, stream this to your audience, settings. Those are the 4 settings that I have. I'm using an Apple device.
Are you on Chrome or so you on Chrome?
Safari.
You might have to go on Chrome.
If you have, you might have to go on Chrome if you're able to.
You have Chrome on your computer? I'm surprised.
Say that again.
I'm surprised Safari that you in that far.
Mm-hmm.
You on an iPad or a computer?
The iPad.
You might have to be on the computer. Yeah, you have to be on the computer in order to present, to do the sharing of your presentation.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay.
Good question,
Let me
Principal.
log in through my computer here. All right. Give me 1 second.
Sit there. Sit there.
Is your computer Apple's also?
Yes, it is.
All right. Do you have Chrome on your computer?
Yes, we do.
All right. Yeah, go through Chrome on your computer, on your laptop or your desktop. Go through Chrome.
Yeah, you have those settings on that one. You'll be able to present and everything on that. But the iPad, it doesn't allow for some reason. I don't know why. StreamYard doesn't.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Okay, we're
please forgive
setting
us,
it up.
family. Please forgive us for the delay. We did do a walkthrough prior, but we didn't go this in depth with it. So we have to clear it up now so that it can go and Moreh can present his lesson by sharing his screen as he speaks to us what it is that the Most High has revealed to him.
Hallelujah. Give me 1 second here.
Take your time. Let me see if I can pull up something for us to check out. Probably could pull up the land.
The video.
Yeah, I'll try to pull it up really quickly. I should have had that on standby. Second. But you all could speak while I'm trying to find that and why he's getting that together too. Appreciate everyone coming in and tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and please like and share today. Going to be getting a powerful lesson, I'm sure. So please do that. Please like the video if you haven't already. There we go. Video file. That's what I was looking for. Beulah Land. This is it right here. Yep, I'm going to show this right here for you all to check out while we wait on the Moreh. There we go.
You got music with that, Rush?
I'll bring it up in 1 second. I'll start it over. But this is a video of Beulah Land in Georgia, where we're residing at right now. So, want to check it out?
Yeah.
Try to start it right. So, here we go. Here we go. Chris, you got the floor.
All right. May the Most High be praised. May the Most High be praised. All right, Moreh, when you come in, I'd like you to introduce yourself to the family. Give us a little brief history of yourself so everybody become familiar with you, and you can go straight into your presentation. All right?
Okay, hallelujah. That sounds very good, very good. My name is Kasad. I mean, just let me know when you're ready.
We ready. You got the floor.
Okay, gotcha. Hallelujah. Okay, Mr. Prakash, Shabbat Shalom. My name is Kasad. I've been in this walk here since 1992. Started out in New York on the streets of 125th Street. So somewhat familiar with the whole One West, Marshall Lawyer, that whole clique there back in the early 80s. But again, I came in 1992. Started out with a couple of different camps. Broke off, started my own thing with a couple of brothers. Had a congregation up in Pennsylvania, out in a town called Stroudsburg. Moved down here to Georgia, got immersed, and now we have a congregation out here in Georgia called the Congregation of Yah for All. And that's pretty much a quick telling of my story on how I came into the walk in 1992 during Harlem Week. Once again, I heard a bunch of guys out there on the streets talking about you guys are the people of the book. I asked them a couple of questions regarding the statements that they were making. Now they were able to actually answer all of the questions that I had. And so from that point going forward, I've just been digging and trying to get the best information possible versus the Christian slash mostly Muslim. I'm more familiar with the Islam or the Muslim community versus Christianity. I think I might have been to church maybe about 10 times out of my life, but I was more centered towards learning and being educated with the Nation of Islam, with Louis Farrakhan and with Khalid Muhammad. Had the pleasure of meeting Khalid Muhammad once. It was a pleasure to meet him. He was also aware of the Hebrew Israelite movement, but he kind of gravitated more towards the Islamic way of doing things. That's pretty much about it, Mr. Bakar. Those are my beginnings. More accustomed to the Islamic way of doing things versus the Muslim way, the Christian way of doing things. And so couldn't read, I wasn't really taking hold too much of the Quran. I was able to agree with what Farrakhan was saying, but when I started to read the Bible, that's when things started to connect with me. And I've been a study of acting of both Old and New Testament for 30 years now. So, Mr. Bakar, what I wanted to do this evening, the Father had put on my heart to tackle what I believe a very controversial topic, and it's the war between the seeds. I wanted to know exactly what is going on, where are we at now, how can we properly defend ourselves with some of the situations that that is going on with us today. And I believe that if we are actually able to see and understand that there are disagreeable spirits, there are different seeds on the planet Earth, and that the Father actually chose the nation of Israel to be his set apart people. I believe if we were able to differentiate who's who in the scripture, begin to understand, how can I say, again, who's who, who are the nations, who are the people of the book. I believe that it would give us a head start on exactly who we are today. But before I get started, Mr. Bakar, what I wanted to do is say a prayer and go ahead with the lesson here. So I'll begin with prayer. Our Father which art in heaven, set apart be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Father, we pray that you give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us all from all that is evil. For thine is the kingdom, and all esteem belongs to the Father through your Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, and we say hallelujah. Now, this presentation that I have here, the reason why I did it this way is that if anybody had any questions regarding anything that I'm saying, what they can actually do is email me, and I can send you a copy of the slideshow, just to let you know that everything is on the up and up, and everything that I would be saying this evening would be coming from the scripture. So I just wanted to start off by saying Shabbat Shalom to everybody. My peace and blessings to all those that observe Shabbat today. My peace and blessings to you. I wanted to begin by giving you a non-exhaustive biblical explanation on the war between the seeds. I believe that it is very important for us to understand or understand Adam and his responsibility to the creator of all things, and that anything short of that puts the whole creation in jeopardy. And so I'm quite sure that everybody has read the story of Genesis. And it has always been my argument is that Adam's loyalty should have been to the Father first. And anytime that loyalty to the Father is in jeopardy, or you begin to compromise it, you will find yourself in a world of problems, as we see that our father Abraham did. Not to undermine our Ishars or our Nashim, not to undermine them, but it's very important that we understand leadership, the patriarchal system, the matriarchal system, and how this whole thing works, so that we as a people can actually function and be the people that we're supposed to be according to Torah. Let's see. What I wanted to do is to take a look at the second slideshow. Excuse me. Okay. Things have gotten so compromised between the relationship that the Father had with Adam that has really put us in a very awkward situation today. And even our forefathers began to examine why we are in the situation, that reason why they were in the situation that they were in, and why we are in that same present situation today. And what I wanted to do was look at 2nd Ezra, the 7th chapter, verse 48, which is actually in the Apocrypha. And in 2nd Ezra, the 7th chapter, verse 48, this situation that happened in the garden was so severe that it still affects us to this very day. And so Ezra goes on to explain, as he says, O thou, or O you, Adam, what hast thou done? For though it was you that sinned, thou art not fallen alone, but we all that come of thee. And I found that to be very, very important. I'm a component, I believe, in generational curses. And so what we're actually doing today, at this very day here, is that we are still suffering from what happened in the Garden of Eden, in this enclosed garden. And so how do we now reconnect back to the Father so that we can all be in one accord with the Father and be the right, truthful people that we need to be? And so once again, this statement that Ezra is making here now was that because of what happened in the garden is affecting us today. And once again, like I said earlier, I strongly believe in generational curses. And the way that we remove those generational curses is through prayer and through fasting and acknowledging our sins. And once those things can be done, we can begin the process of rebuilding. Rebuilding is going to be very important. And until we're able to acknowledge our own personal sins and how it affects us today, it's going to be kind of like hard for us to move forward with the next generation if they don't know who they are and how severe sins can be. So making sure that we have this divine, not just any type of connection, but this divine, intimate connection with the Father. If we can't have that divine, intimate connection with the Father, we will see that this Stockholm syndrome, this perpetual disobedience will continue throughout all of our generations. and at some point it has to stop. I do believe that we at the verge of something major that's about to happen, and if we're not keeping up with end time events, we might find ourselves at the on the wrong side of the pool here, and we don't want to do that. I also wanted to take a look at the book of Ecclesiasticus, which is in the Apocrypha, which is chapter 26, verses 19 to 21. Now, what I'm trying to establish here this afternoon, Mr. Picard, is seed and disobedience. We have here where it has been shared with us where it is important for us men to know exactly who it is that we're actually coming into agreement with. We're talking about picking out our Ishas. And some of us that have Nashim. It is very important that we know who is coming over our thresholds and who we are actually trying to build with. And so I found another scripture that was very important, once again, which is in the book of Ecclesiasticus, the 26th chapter, verses 19 to 21. It says, "My son, keep the flower of thy age sound." And usually now when we begin to look at etymologies, we begin to look at prophetic shadow pictures. The word flower is usually talking about your reproductive organs, and not to be get involved in whoredoms. We just wanted to make sure that we stay as healthy as possible. And the reason why we wanted to do that, and it makes mention now, is not to give your strength to strangers. It then goes on to say now is that when thou hast gotten a fruitful possession, meaning this is referring to a woman now, when thou hast gotten a fruitful possession throughout all the field, sow it with thy own seed, trusting in the goodness of thy stock. So trusting in the goodness of your own stock and making sure that you find a fruitful possession, meaning a woman that is actually able to produce not just any type of children. We're talking about the children now that's going to be in alignment with the rules and regulations that's going on inside of the household. So making sure that we understand what is a patriarch, what is his responsibility inside of the household, the leadership, and what is the responsibility of the matriarch, which is the woman. So when these two come together in divine unity, again, in divine unity here now, we're looking at now the stoppage of what we see that's happening out here in the world today. What we're looking to have now are Torah-abiding children. Once again, Torah-abiding children. So when thou hast gotten a fruitful possession throughout all the field, sow it with thine own seed, trusting in the goodness of thy stock, your lineage. Your lineage, your genealogy, I believe it is extremely important. I know that it becomes kind of controversial who is who in these last days here. I don't really get involved with that too much, but I do know that not everybody is of the same seed. We know that there are a lot of different types of blood types. There's Rh negative, Rh positive, O positive, O negative. So there's a lot of different blood types here that lets us know that not even everybody is compatible. Even to the point now where things can be so complicated if you don't have a fruitful possession, where you might find yourself in a situation, what I personally experienced, if the individual is not compatible to you as far as blood type is concerned, it can cause major problems in the, how can I say this, make it as clean as possible. It can cause problems with bringing forth children, where I've read and gotten some information where if the two parties aren't compatible, where there's medication that the woman would have to take, because when the man actually releases inside of the woman, it is looked at as a foreign body. And what happens now is that her defenses might have to be brought down a little bit. And there was a situation where I was studying with a couple where the woman had to take what they call a Rogam, not Rogaine, but a Rogam shot. Because every time the man would actually release inside of the woman, her body would bring up this strong defense and actually kill off all of the sperm cells. And even if there was conception, what would happen now is that she would not be able to conceive the whole 9 months, that her body would actually abort the baby. So once again, making sure that we know who we're dealing with, and not get caught up into the pleasure of the eyes. He's 6 feet tall. He has abs. You know, he's this and that. But there has to be other criteria that we're looking for in order to produce now this goodness of our stock. And then it goes on to share with us, Mr. Picard, it says that, so thy race which thou leavest shall be magnified, having the confidence of their good descent. For me, that speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. And I believe now is that if we were to keep the Torah the way that it was originally outlined for us, a lot of the complications that we're having today with our children, we won't have those issues. I found it very interesting where even our father Abraham, made it very explicit when he talked about his son Isaac, when he told Eleazar to make a promise, to make an oath, put Eleazar now to actually put his hands between his thigh and swear to him not to take for Isaac any of the children of the Canaanites. And so when these decrees are being made by our forefathers, we have to ask ourselves, why were these decrees made? And once again, now we have to make sure that we trust in the goodness of our stock. Let's move on here. Another very interesting conversation that we have here is with Tobit and with Tobias. And this is in the 4th chapter, verses 12 to 13, where Tobit is now explaining to his son, Tobias. He tells him, beware of all whoredom, my son. Watch this now. And chiefly or mainly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife, which is not of thy father's tribe. For we are the children of the prophets, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, my son, that your fathers from the beginning, even they that all married wives of their own kindred, and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land. Verse 13. Now therefore, my son, love thy brethren, and despise not in thy heart thy brethren, the sons and daughters of your people, and not taking a wife of them. For in pride is destruction and much trouble, and in lewdness is decay and great want. For lewdness is the mother of famine. And once again, Mishpachar, that spoke volumes to me, making sure that we don't get involved with the superficial things that we see out here today, where she must have the big behind, the big breasts, the Cardi B's, the Nicki Minaj, that whole type of woman we're not looking for. What we're looking for is honest, true women who follow in the footsteps of Sarah. Are you a daughter of Sarah is what we're looking for. We're looking for women now that can actually now help us now to build strong households is what we're looking for. We must have a strong network and not rely on the system anymore to take care of our children. I'm not an advocate of the school system. Okay, I'm an advocate of homeschooling, meaning now is that with strong leadership, which comes from the man, and making sure that he gets a woman that is of good stock, who's able to now follow the rules and regulations of the household, because the patriarchal system is very important, extremely important, because once again now, we're looking to now have strong seed. And seed is so important because seed is also information. And so once now a man is actually being intimate with his Isha, I also teach in my classes now is that intimacy is so important where I am not an advocate of a man having intercourse with his Isha when he's angry or when his Isha is angry. And the reason why is because this is information. anytime that there's a union between the two parties, I mean, listen, I believe that there should be shalom between the two, because intimacy is a religious, or excuse me, it's a righteous act between two parties. And once that man releases this information inside of the woman, which is his sperm, the zarah, which is his sperm, we want to make sure that there's a pure, righteous connection with her, so that when the two genes come together, the 23 of her chromosomes and 23 of his chromosomes, when they come together, we're looking to have, again now, goodly stock, where there's no negative vibrations within inside of that union, in hopes now of producing right children. And this is the reason why when we begin to look at what is happening with Abraham, and we begin to look at what's happening with Tobit, these instructions was given to us for a reason. Not everybody, not all of the nations are on the same page. And I do believe that there are nations out here that are involved in, they're just disagreeable by nature. And I wanted to talk about that because the main focus of tonight's lesson, or this afternoon's lesson, is going to be the book of Bereshit, or the book of Genesis, the 3rd chapter. So let's go into that here so that we can actually get into the meat of the topic. But let me present something to you this afternoon, how important seed is. My argument is this, that male and female created he, them. Not just Adam and Eve, but all creation followed after the pattern of male first. Once again, male and female created he, them. Not just Adam and Eve, but all creation followed after the pattern of male first, then female. Adam named Eve's gender. Again, Adam named Eve's gender. Isha meaning woman. Isha meaning woman. Now, there's a definition for the word woman. She was called woman because she was taken from the Ish, man. And you will find this down in the book of Bereshit, the 2nd chapter, verse 23. But watch this now. But why is man called Ish? I found that the name is related now to the word fire. And you have the word, the aleph, the yod, and the sheen. And that word now, we have the word, we have the aleph, the yod, and the sheen. Well, watch this now. When the yod is dropped, and those of us now that are actually studying the Hebrew language, and we understand root words, parent root words, and the and how to drop and add letters, not adding to the sentence now, but understanding Hebrew grammar. I found that the name is related to fire, and you have the aleph, the yod, and the sheen. But when the yod is dropped, you have the word ash, which means fire. I've noticed that man's character is centered around, he's in enthusiasm, lust, and initiative. These characteristics enable men to achieve dominance, attain wisdom, and develop culture. Now watch this now though. On the other hand, that same fire can cause mass destruction, such as that has marred humanity almost since the beginning of time. If anybody have any questions regarding anything that I'm saying, please stop me and I can go ahead and I definitely try to elaborate on what I'm saying. But let me just go back just a little bit here. The word ish, okay, because we know according to Hebrew grammar, they're saying that the word, that the aleph is actually silent. So we have the word ish, and it's spelled the aleph, the yod, and the sheen. And once again, now that yod is going to be very important because it's going to also show us now how important it is for us to establish a rightful, righteous marriage. Now, to understand the Torah, when I say to understand the Torah, I'm talking about foundational law, and the Besorah context is extremely important. Okay, because I'm an advocate also of the Besorah, the New Testament, but we're not going to touch on that today. But making sure that we have a strong foundation, Mr. Kasad, is going to be extremely important. Without that strong foundation, as we begin to read the scripture, if we don't keep that strong foundation with definitions, understanding a little bit about the Hebrew language and understanding culture, if we can't have that basic foundational understanding, as we continue to read the scriptures and we begin to see that Israel is now going through different captivities. When Israel goes through different captivities, each captivity that they go through, they're picking up a little of their oppressor's way of doing things. So when Israel went through the Babylonian captivity, they started to pick up a little of the ways of the Babylonians, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greeks and the Romans. And so what we wanted to do now is to stay away from all of those things. And we wanted to make sure that we always stay grounded with Torah. So the presence of righteousness in Yasharal is expressed by the letters that are added to their names. Once again, the presence of righteousness in Yasharal or in Israel is expressed by the letters that are added to their names. Like take, for example, I'm sure everybody here probably has a Hebrew name. My name is Kasad. Some say Kased, Kasad Abba. The word Kasad means mercy, and the word Abba means father. And so my nature and my character is always supposed to be mercy, showing mercy to others. And I decided now when I got my name back in 1992, I knew that the only way that I would be able to survive throughout this journey, throughout this walk in Torah, it will be through the mercy and the blessings of the Father. So that's the reason why I chose the name Kasad Abba. The word Kasad again means mercy, and the word Abba means father. So once again now, let's look at those letters again, the Aleph, the Yod, and the Shin. In the letters, the Aleph, the Yod, and the Shin, we have the Aleph, the Yod, and the Shin. We have the spelling of Ish, pronouncing or the pronunciation being Ish. Now, Yahuwah Elohim, which is very important, we get into that a little bit later on. Yahuwah Elohim, meaning now the mighty one over the messengers. Yahuwah is a name, and Elohim is also describing individuals. So we have Yahuwah, who is the mighty one over the messengers, is extremely important in marital agreements. If the Yod is missing from the union, all you have left are the letters, the Aleph and the Shin, which spells Ash, which means fire. And the word rendering of that word is a destructive fire. It not only harms the relationship of marriage, but can also cause the destruction of what did I have here now? Mine's is blocking here. 1 second, Mr. Picard. 1 second. Do anybody have any questions with anything so far? I just want to make sure that everybody is following along. Because if you take out the Yod in the word Ish, you have the word Ash, that means fire. And whenever you take the Yod out, it would not only harm the relationship of marriage, but would also cause the destruction of the next generation of children. Okay, so we have a question here. Do I go to the question? How do I hear or read the question?
Oh no, I was putting up asking. I was asking any questions.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Hallelujah. So, Mishpikah, what I'm going to be doing, my sources of reading is the Britain Septuagint. I'm going to be looking at the King James Version also. But what is interesting now is I like to look at a couple of different versions just to make sure that I'm getting the right and the proper understanding of my presentation whenever I'm asked to do a class or I'm just doing a class at the congregation, here at the congregation of Yasharal. Take a look at verse 1 in the book of Genesis, the 3rd chapter, verse 1. I want to see if anybody is able to notice some things that are going on in the book of Genesis, the 3rd chapter, verse 1. It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. And what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to read all the way down to what they have, a period. Now we know that there are no question marks, there's no periods, no type of vowel systems. When I say vowel system, there's no, hold on a second, just pull this up right quick. Here we go. There are no periods, and there's question marks, parentheses, anything like that in Torah. They're in the writings. That's not there. But it says now, interesting now is that now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. First and foremost, what I needed to do now was to identify the first character here was the serpent. That word serpent is very important because it's the Hebrew word nachash. And if you look at the word, the Strong's 5172, it gives us a description of this serpent, nachash. It says now in the Hebrew word study, transliteration, pronunciation, etymology, and grammar of the word, we have to practice divination, divine, observe signs, learn by experience, diligently observe, practice fortune telling, take as an omen. And then it has the PL system to practice divination, to observe the signs of omens. But it gets very interesting now when we begin to look at context. Context is going to be very important. When you look at the Hebrew word study, transliteration, pronunciation, etymology, and grammar of the word, it means to practice, the Brown's Drivers Briggs Old Testament Hebrew English lexicon, the English lexicon, it means to hiss, that is a whisperer, to whisper a magic spell, to prognosticate. So when we keep everything in its proper context, we begin to get a description of the serpent. He's a whisperer, an enchanter, to cast a spell. And then it goes on to say that this serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. And so what I did from that point was I looked at the word subtle. And it's the Hebrew word aron. It means to be shrewd, to be crafty, silly, to be sensible. And that is the Hebrew word study, transliteration, pronunciation, etymology, and grammar of the word. And it also means to be cunning. So we're getting more and more definitions now of what this serpent was actually able to do. What is his nature? And I believe that it is very important for us to be aware of Nachash. What is it that he does? He's a whisperer, an enchanter, and he casts a spell upon those now that are not obedient to Torah. And then it makes mention now that he was more subtle than any beast of the field. And when I've heard a lot of Christians make mention when we talk about the beast of the field, that word beast only means life, L-I-F-E. It just means life. So he was more cunning, more demonic, devilish than any other life form that was in the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. And so he had this conversation with the woman, which was Eve. Watch how things begin to get very interesting. Now, the serpent says, have Elohim said, you should not eat of every tree of the garden? What I've noticed here in the book of Genesis, the 3rd chapter, verse 1, was that this serpent was not in the garden. And the reason why I say that the serpent was not in the garden, it made mention of a location, which is the field. And it made mention now of a location where Adam and his Ishar abode, where they stayed at, which was they were in a enclosed garden. It then goes on to say is that the serpent now wasn't challenging Yahuwah Elohim per se. He was actually challenging Elohim, not Yahuwah Elohim, because the word Elohim would be plural. Reading it again in the King James Version, but in the Septuagint, it has Lord God. But when you begin to read it in the Hebrew or the Hebrew, it says that the serpent began to question Elohim, and the adversary said, have Elohim said you should not eat of every tree of the garden? The woman now goes on to have this conversation with the adversary, with Nakash. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim had said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. What I wanted to bring out so far with this conversation that the adversary is having with Eve so far is notice now is that he's not having a conversation with the patriarch, the male. He's having a conversation now with Eve. My argument is this: all decisions, any conversation that's going to affect the household must be addressed by the patriarch first. Anytime anyone tries to have a conversation regarding your household, not speaking to you first, but rather speaks to your Isha, that person is acting in behalf or acting just like Nakash. And if that's not done, where the patriarch, the man of the house, is not spoken to first, Mishrakah, you're going to find yourself in another situation, the same situation now that Adam is having, because the adversary is going through the back door and having a conversation with another man's possession. All right. So once again, my argument also now is that a man's wife is his possession. That belongs to him and nobody else. So any decisions, anything that's going on inside of the household, it must be addressed by the patriarch first. So again, this conversation that's being held. Verse 3, but of the fruit of the tree, which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim had said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. Now, the next word that came up of interest is the word fruit. It was believed that this fruit was actually an apple. And we know that there's nothing in scripture that shares with us that this fruit was actually an apple. But we do have the Hebrew word pari. And the definition that it gives, it says fruit. Watch this now. This definition is so important. In the Hebrew word study, transliteration, pronunciation, etymology, and grammar of the word pari means fruit. Fruit, it also means produce of the ground. It also gives a definition of offspring. Offspring, children, progenitorship of the womb. So when we go back now and see exactly what is happening with this conversation, because this fruit is related to a tree, he's having a conversation with Eve, and we see now, and this is also important too now, was that at this point, the woman name, she just identified as woman, not Eve. And we want to talk about that also, because we're going to see a lot of stuff happening here that oftentimes you don't see being addressed. And I believe that it needs to be addressed because, once again, this fruit now is also associated with children, offspring, and womb. So, but the fruit of the tree, which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim have said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die. For Elohim do know in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and you shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. Mr. McCall, there are no capital letters and there are no small letters in Hebrew. But verse 5 in the book of Genesis 3 and 5, there is something going on. You see the word Elohim, the E is in caps. But when it says that you should be as Elohim, knowing good and evil, that word Elohim there is in small letters. So that I can get some participation from the audience here, have anybody ever recognized a capital Elohim and then a Elohim written in small letters? Have anybody ever recognized that or questioned that at all? Okay, no problem. For Elohim.
Cain, Moreh.
Cain,
Someone said something?
We said
Cain.
Cain,
Oh,
witness.
watch how this becomes very interesting. For Elohim doeth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. What Elohim is this in comparison to the Elohim that is written in capital letters? This Elohim is written in lowercase letters, knowing both good and evil. When we talk about good and evil, we're talking about now repercussions. Instructions was given to Adam, the head of the household, the patriarch, the trees that were good to eat and the trees now that were not good to eat, or the tree of good and evil. And it was specifically told to Adam, in the day that he eat thereof, he shall surely die. And we know that Adam did die that same day when we begin to look at the calendar count of how the Father is counting time. Adam lived 930 years, short of one day by 70 years. So that decree that the Father placed against Adam for being disobedient did come to pass. He lived 70 days, or 70 years, short of 1,000 years. Now, this particular Elohim, knowing both good and evil now, would be applied to the disagreeable ones, to know both good and evil, to know repercussions. Watch this now. You shall be as Elohim, plural, knowing good and evil. Watch how the story plays out. What I'm trying to share is that there's a difference between the righteous ones and the disagreeable ones. And when Adam and his Isha disobeyed the commandments of the Father, they were no longer in covenant relationship with the Father. There was a pact. There was an agreement made between Adam and his Isha with the adversary. And being that this agreement was made between Adam, his Isha, and the adversary, they could no longer stay in the Gan, the Garden of Eden, the enclosed garden. They were expelled from the garden because you can't have a league with the adversary and still stay in this set apart land. You can't do that. My argument is that Adam, and again, in this Isha, became as Elohim, the disagreeable ones, and so now they would have to suffer repercussions. Well, watch how this now becomes very interesting. When Israel was in the wilderness, and Moses acted as the mediator between Israel and the Father. Specific instructions was given to the nation of Israel. I set before you this day life and death. Choose life. When we begin to truly look at exactly what that means, the same situation is happening here in the book of Genesis. Instructions was given to Adam that there would be repercussions if you don't follow Torah. You have to be obedient in order to stay in the land. And because I love you so much, I'm going to tell you now, as Moses told the children of Israel, by the divine instructions of the Father, choose life. Just kai. Choose life so that you may live. Adam did not choose life because he was told to protect, to guard, to shamar the way of life. That was his responsibility. Watch as we move on how this whole thing plays out. Watch how now in verse 6, when the woman saw that the tree was good for food and that it was pleasant to the eyes and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. So very interesting words that I also wanted to look at here, Mr. Kasad, so that we can get a real good understanding of what's going on. The word pleasant. The word pleasant is the Hebrew word ta'ava. And in the word study, transliteration, pronunciation, etymology, and grammar of the word, it means desire, wish, longing of one's heart, and it gives the definition of lust. Lust. What I found interesting now is that as long as you're in the divine company of the Father, these physical attributes should not bother us. And lust, especially now a lust of the flesh, can be a very big problem, a huge problem. And so now, this tree now of good and evil now, when the woman saw that it was a tree good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and some of the definitions that it is giving now, that it was it brought about lust, it brought about desire, and the word desire is the Hebrew word chamad, and it means to desire, to covet, to take pleasure, to delight in, to be desirable. So what I'm trying to share with you on here tonight or this afternoon, Mr. Picard, is that this tree brought about mortal, lustful attributes. When Adam and his Isha partook of this forbidden fruit here, they were no longer operating on spiritual senses. Israel, where Adam and his Isha now were now operating on mortal human instincts. Meaning now is that their functions now was basically based upon touch, smell, hearing, taste, and sight. But when you're in the divine company of the Father, these things now are not your ways of interacting with the Father. Meaning now was that everything that I just mentioned is actually one sensory. They're all operating on one nerve ending. My argument is that when you're in the divine company of the Father, you're now operating now on a higher level, where you're talking about clairvoyance. We're talking about excuse me, I got a little cold here that's going on here too. We're talking about clairvoyance, intuition, and being able to divine or to operate on a higher level. To give you an example of that, Moses goes up to the top of the mount and he's communing with the Father. And when Moses is communing with the Father, he comes down off the mount. Whenever you're in the presence of the Father, you are now what we call an enlightened being. When Moses comes off the mount, he illuminated. He illuminated. And when he illuminated, they could not actually take hold of Moses at that point, where they had to put a veil upon his face. Very important. So what I'm trying to share here this afternoon, Mr. Picard, are the two natures or the two phases on how to deal with what we're dealing with here. And our goal is to be in the divine company of the Father, where we are actually now in the presence of a divine entity. I think I might have lost. Did I lose my slideshow? Oh, there's my slideshow there. Okay, there we are. So let's read on here as this thing is going to become clearer and clearer. But before I go too far, if anybody have any questions, by all means, please chime in. Watch what begins to happen in verse 7.
Shalom, Moreh. It is a question on the screen if you can see it.
Okay.
And it says, when did Adam make the pact with the serpent.
Okay, so as we read the story here, is that on the day of that Adam relinquished his position as as patriarch of the house, and listened to his Isha, and also partook of the forbidden fruit. This is when we see that this pact was made between all three parties here. Meaning now is that Adam had the ability to check his Isha. Meaning now is that when she partook of the forbidden fruit, nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. It's not until Adam actually partook of this forbidden fruit where all things now went awry. Everything went haywire. And this is when we see now the Father comes on the scene. He begins to ask the first party, the patriarch, Adam, what hast thou done? Eve actually participated in the act first, but understanding how the patriarchal system works, the father checked the man first and asked him what just happened here. There's my screen there. So I pray that that answers the question. And actually, as we continue to read on down, it's going to explain exactly that. And once again, when Eve partook of the forbidden fruit, nothing happened until Adam actually happened. It was interesting now, what we can also learn from this too, is that whenever a woman makes a vow, whenever she makes a vow, is if the husband hears that vow or that nadar, he has the ability now to disallow any vow that she makes. Any vow that she makes, he can disallow or discredit that vow that she made. Meaning now is that this is not to undermine women to say that they can't make decisions or anything like that, but decisions affect the household. And a woman is always supposed to be under a covering. Even when she's in her father's house, if she makes a vow and the father hears that vow, that father can actually disallow or discredit that vow that she made. But if he hears it and he doesn't do anything to change it, then that vow stands. So this is the reason why I'm saying that it is very important whenever any decision is being made inside of a man's household, it must come through the patriarch, the male first. Any man that is trying to speak to your Isha regarding your household behind your back is acting in behalf of Nakash. My argument is always go to the male first, the covering. That is my argument from day one since 1992, and it stands here in 2023, based upon what I'm reading, how I'm reading Torah. Let's read on here, because it's going to get very interesting what begins to happen, where Adam now in his Isha falls from a spiritual state into a physical state. It says now, and the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were alone, naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And so I found that word arome interesting. They're now naked. They're now exposed. My son, all right, as long as he's doing good, I can see the spiritual aura about him, okay? I'm trying to draw a picture here, so follow along with me. But I can tell now about the countenance of his face when he does something wrong, that something just happened. He begins to understand that he is now naked, and he's trying to now cover himself. So he's no longer acting in a spiritual nature, but he's now acting in a nature of he did something wrong, disobedience. And this is what is happening now to Adam and his Isha. They knew that they were naked. They knew that they were exposed. And what they're going to try to do now is they're going to now cover themselves as if nothing happened. When we read these scriptures, what I try to do is to make sure that they're applicable now to everything that is being done in my own personal life. Because the way that some folks read scripture, they say, well, okay, then it's only a story. But my argument is now, how can I draw from these stories now so that it won't now affect my household? And if it does affect my household, how do I handle it from there? So we have the father now. Adam and his Isha are in a righteous state of mind. Adam is given instructions on how to run the household. The adversary comes behind his back. And let me back up here a little bit. I'm not too much an advocate of, put it this way, I read with discretion of the books. In the book of Adam and his Isha Eve, Akua, it makes mention that Adam was not there when all this was happening. Some have argued that Adam was right there when it happened. Me personally, I don't believe that Adam was right there when it happened. And the reason why I don't believe that Adam was right there when this whole transaction was going on is based upon the way the adversary works and the way that I used to work back in the world. Meaning now is that back in the world, what I would do is that I will wait until the opportune time. If there was a woman that I liked, but I knew that she was involved with another gentleman. This is back in the world now, not today, back in the world. I will wait now to the opportune time and offer her things that her boyfriend wasn't offering her. And so I was operating as Nakash. Listen, I can take you to the movies. I can take you on vacations. All right. During that era, during the late and mid 80s, you know what? I can get you the 4-finger gold ring. I can get you the big gold rope. All right. I can get the gold grill for you with your name written in your mouth. I can do that. I can do all of that because I was hustling like that. And see, what I'm trying to share here now is that this goes contrary to now what on how relationships are actually supposed to work. And so I say that to say now is that I believe what the adversary did was wait for the opportune time when the man was not there, and then took advantage of an opportunity, which now caused the downfall of Adam and his Isha. My argument is that in order for a marriage to work, there has to be strong leadership. A strong woman who follows her Ish, because we're looking for strength. We're looking for children now from the union of these two bodies coming together where they're able to see now strength in the union between the mother and the father. Where if my son is able to see that daddy is the head of the household, when he goes out to establish his household, he will say, listen, this is how I saw my father do it. This is how I saw my mother do it. My mother was in subjection to my father. My father was the head of the household. So when my son goes out, he knows now how to be the patriarch of his household. What I'm arguing here, Adam did not show that type of leadership, but I can still learn at the same time on what not to do, because I know that the adversary is always lurking. Always. So at this point here now, the man of the house comes down. He comes home now. All right, he comes home. Verse 8, and they heard the voice of Yahuwah Elohim. Notice now that the conversation in Genesis, the 3rd chapter, verse 1, it went from Yahuwah Elohim. That is very important. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Now, what happens now, notice now in the book of Genesis, the 3rd chapter, verse 1, it says Yahuwah Elohim. The conversation now begins to, the adversary begins to talk or to attack Elohim, not Yahuwah Elohim, but Elohim. Mr. McCall, this is extremely important. Even with those that have communities, there's the head of the community, and then we have Talmudim, we have disciples, we have leadership. We have those things there. So when the head of the congregation, excuse me, of the community is not there, he's not there, he's leaving responsibility now to the elders, the other men in the congregation now to keep the community together. It makes mention here in verse 38, watch this now, and they heard the voice of Yahuwah Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day. Watch how this whole thing plays out. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah Elohim amongst the trees of the garden. It went from Elohim to now daddy comes home. Daddy comes home. Yahuwah Elohim now is addressing the situation. And Yahuwah Elohim called into Adam, the patriarch of the house. And Yahuwah Elohim called into Adam and said unto him, where art thou? Not where art thou, and that he didn't know where he was, but I want to know, Adam, something is strange. Something is peculiar about you. I want to know where you are spiritually. Have you ever spoke with a person or even just recognized by the aura of a person, especially with inside of your household? Because that's where the enemy is going to try to attack. Where are you spiritual enough where you can walk through your door and just take a look at your wife and your children and say, where are you? Not that you can't find them. I need to know, where are you spiritually? Something seems different about you. Something seems odd about you. No, everything's okay, babe. Everything's all right. Nah, Nope, 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 no. Something is wrong. So again, it's not that the father didn't know where they were at. I need to know where you are spiritually. And every once in a while, inside of our relationships, you must have that downtime with your Ishas and say, hey, listen, you know what? Exactly the situation we have with Cain. Cain, my Ish does. He can always tell when I am spiritually off balance. And that's that divine connection. How can you be in the house with a woman or your Isha be in the house with you and she can't tell that something is wrong? And this is the reason why I say now is that, are we operating on a spiritual level with our spouses, or are we operating on a terrestrial level with our Ishas? Meaning now is that until they say something is wrong, then I can acknowledge that something is wrong. Or can you now tell by the way that they're moving, the tone and the pitch of their voice, that something is wrong? So we all want to have a spiritual connection with our Ishas, where without operating on these five senses, which only operates on one nerve ending, sight or light hits the iris of your eyes and you have sight. Food touches the taste buds in your on your tongue, and you're able to taste. Sound hits your eardrums, all right, and you're able to hear. You put your hands on anything that is hot or cold, you begin to have touch with sensational touch. Those are all operating on one nerve ending. That means that we're only acting on a carnal level. What I'm trying to share here now is that Adam was operating on just more than one sensory. He was an illuminated, enlightened being, the same way that we see Moses when he was operating with the Father. When he goes up to the top of the mount, he comes off the mount, he's an enlightened being. He had a glow about him. Just like the glow that we see that our Ishas have when they're pregnant. They have this glow about them, this divine energy about them. And this is what I'm saying now is that Adam lost this. He's naked now. He no longer has the original covering that he had in the beginning. He's naked. And what he's going to try to do now is cover up his wickedness, the disobedience. Let's read on. And they heard the voice of Yahuwah Elohim walking in the garden at the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah amongst the trees of the garden. We're not going to go into the trees or anything like that. We're going to keep this real simple here this afternoon. And Yahuwah Elohim called unto Adam and said unto him, where art thou? Verse 10. And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid. Another attribute which is different from his original design. His eyes were open, as in verse 6. You see desire coming into play. You see wise coming into play. And you see nakedness coming into play. And you see afraid coming into play. These characteristics, these attributes was not the original design. Meaning now is that the Father, it's like you coming home and you open up your laptop and you're pushing in your password and nothing is happening. Or if you're able to get in, you see that there's a virus. All of these attributes that I just mentioned here, Adam and his Isha now have a virus. It's a virus. Watch how this plays out. And he said, who told you that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee? He speaketh to Adam that thou shouldest not eat. And the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. When I read verse 12, I almost fell out of my chair when I first read that. Adam, instead of now being the man that he should have been and taking on the responsibility of being the patriarch, he had the audacity to switch the blame from himself to the Father. Well, I was afraid and I was naked and I hid myself. And the reason why I'm behaving in this virus state is because of the woman that you gave me. You gave me her. And the reason why I'm in this present state now, in this conversation that Yahuwah Elohim is having with Adam, is because of the woman you gave me. Now that took some gonads, okay, for Adam to say. Verse 12 again. And the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. Adam is not taking no responsibility for anything. It is your fault, or it is the woman that you gave me, which in return, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat it. No accountability at all. And I find that narcissist behavior still operating in Israel today. Nobody wants to take responsibility. And if nobody takes responsibility, guess what happens? This slave mentality, this narcissist behavior, it continues on through the next generation, and the next generation, and the next generation. When scripture clearly tells us, only thing that we would have to do is to acknowledge our offense. Acknowledge your offense. Adam didn't do that. Watch what happens. And so now Yahuwah Elohim says unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? Watch how Eve, or the woman, handles the situation. And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. So the woman didn't take accountability either. And so Yahuwah Elohim says unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly thou shalt go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. Now, this is where it gets very interesting at, in verse 15. And I will put enmity or hatred between you, the adversary, and the woman, and between thy seed. The same Zerah, between thy seed and her seed. Now, we know that women have, estrogen, and some women, they do have a little testosterone, but women don't produce sperm, seed. That's not what to do. She would have to be impregnated. But what I'm trying to draw here now is that, are we to read verse 15 that the adversary has a seed? Is there a disagreeable seed that is running along side by side with the righteous? Is there an unrighteous seed running throughout the earth? It has been always my argument is that we should be very, very careful. Just because we see individuals with two eyes, a nose, a mouth, two ears, and they can walk up and down and talk, I still would like to know who it is that I'm dealing with. I do believe that there is a disagreeable seed that walks the earth. I pay very close attention to Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, when Israel was given specific instructions not to go into the Horites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, all of those nations there, not to go into those nations. And for a reason. Let me just read on here. Okay, I don't want to go too far. And I will put enmity or hatred between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise thy heel. When did we begin to see some of this begin to manifest, where we have now the bruising of the head and the bruising of the heel? It has been argued amongst some of the, as they say, scholars, that Cain actually struck Abel in the head. We then have an argument where in Genesis 25:25, where there was a struggle or wrestling inside of the womb of Rebekah with Isaac and Jacob, and how Jacob held on to Esau's heel. Because it said with inside of this wrestling that was going on, that Esau actually tried to crush the head of Jacob. Mr. McCall, this gets so interesting is because we then have another story where we have with Ishmael and Isaac. Wow, this would have to be like a part 2 to this. Well, watch how this goes, Mr. McCall. From day one, it has always been about who gets the firstborn heirship. It has always been about that. And when you read the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter, that struggle that was going on in the womb, because Esau and Jacob, they were not identical twins, but they were fraternal twins. And then you begin to look at now where it makes mention where Hagar had gotten to the point where Sarah was not able to conceive. And if Sarah wasn't able to conceive now, the only one that would have been left for heirship would have been Ishmael. But it's documented, I think it's in the book of Jasher, where Sarah had saw Ishmael drawing a bow at Isaac. And this is the reason why it makes mention where Sarah brought it to Abraham's attention that Ishmael would not be heir with my son Isaac. So it has always been about heirship and firstborn. So seed, mishpachah, is very important. It's extremely important. Who is the rightful heir to carry the bloodline? Even David, on his deathbed, Bathsheba, along with, I believe it was Nathan, came to David and said, listen, we need to know who will be the rightful heir that will sit on the throne, David, after you die. Because David had made promise to Bathsheba that Solomon would be the next heir. And Bathsheba, she knew that it was very important now for Solomon to be established, because this would now actually put her life in danger. Her life also in danger. And so when Solomon now takes his rightful position as king, this now also put Bathsheba in a more comfortable position, because everybody wanted to make sure that their position was fortitude or protected, and Solomon was the rightful heir. So heirship is very important. But getting back to this here, when it makes mention in verse 15, and I will put hatred between you and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise thy heel. Watch what happens with verse 16. It says, and to the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire should be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. What is so interesting about verse 16, it makes mention that to the woman, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow. In comparison to what? If we was to read this the way that it is, how would Eve be able to, or how would the woman be able to understand that her labor pains will greatly multiply in comparison to now, she never had children before? Another topic. But unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception, and in sorrow thou shalt bring forth children. What we do notice now, I can't say this for a fact, with the side of humans, those of us that are humans now, is that it takes our children the longest to wean from the mothers more than any other creature on the planet Earth. Nothing stays attached to the mother as long as our children do. You begin to look at what happens in the animal kingdom. If a deer has her babies, you know, the deer doesn't stay with mommy, okay, for what is it, like 19 years old. They don't do that. Everything is quick in a hurry. They have to get up and go. They're out there in the wild. But it takes longer to nourish humans than it does fish and animals. I say that to say this is that this multiplying of sorrow and conception, remember when we made mention in verse 3. In verse 3, we made, by definition now, in verse 3 it says, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, you should not eat of it. Let me see if I can just go back to that right quick. I wanted to Oh, here it is here. This is in verse 3, because I want everybody to follow along. In verse 3, but of the fruit of the tree, we looked up that word fruit, and it means, it's a Hebrew word, peri. In the Hebrew word study, transliteration, pronunciation, etymology, and grammar of the word, the definition that is given, it says fruit, produce of the ground, fruit, and it also gives the definition of offspring, children, progenitorship. Then it begins to talk about of the womb, and that's the Strong's number 6529. It also gives, in comparison, 6509, para, which means to bear fruit, to be fruitful, to be fruitful, to bear fruit, to bring forth, to conceive. Found it interesting. Let me go on to say now is that I am not saying that the adversary had intercourse with Eve. What I'm sharing here now is that in Eve's fallen nature, the curse was put on her ability to conceive. Meaning now is that whenever a woman gives birth, her life is always in jeopardy. She's feeding for two. Usually what happens now, a lot of times things begin to go off with inside of her, with high blood pressure, her diabetes, but these things usually go away after the child is born. Only thing that I'm trying to share here now is that we see that when Eve took part of the fruit of the tree, and you begin to see the curse or the punishment placed upon Eve, her reproductive organs now became questionable, because a woman now goes through NIDAs. A woman now also now has this opportunity now where she can actually even miscarry. So there's a lot that's going on with women as far as reproduction is concerned, and it has a lot to do now with the punishment that was placed upon her because of what happened in the garden. But let's read on here. We're about to finish this up. Now let's look at Adam's punishment. And it's Adam, he said, because thou hast hearkened to the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it, curses the ground for thy sake, and in sorrow thou shalt eat of all the days of thy life. And so we see Adam's punishment is centered around him being able to produce and work and provide for the family. But Eve's punishment has to do with her reproductive organs, meaning now her inability or ability now to produce children. So Adam now, thorns also and thistles shall it bring of thee, and thou shalt eat the herbs of the field. So it is also my argument is that here, Adam was a vegetarian. He was not a carnivore. Adam's food was supposed to have been the herbs of the field. Verse 19, in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return into the ground, for it thou hast taken, for dust thou art, and to dust thou shalt return. And Adam called his wife's name Eve. She was the mother of all living. Watch what happens here. Adam's Isha goes from woman to Eve. It gets more interesting here. Now, let me just back up here a little bit. Did we get to that part yet? No, verse 16. And to the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception, and the sorrow thou shalt bring forth, and thy desire should be unto thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Over the years, I wanted to look at what that actually means. There are some arguments that that verse should actually read that Eve would actually now be in contrary, or she will be against her husband, and she will actually, and Adam now will actually rule over her. So her nature, or what had happened now when she made this pact with the adversary, she was now operating against her ish. Adam is being told now is that here, Eve will work against you, but your job now is to be basically the man of the household, and you must rule or set the dominance in your house as the patriarch of the household. Let me finish this up and we'll be done, and we can take some questions. If anybody have any questions here. Let's see. We have verse 20. And Adam called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living. And Adam said unto his wife, the Yahuwah Elohim did make coats of skin and clothe them. And Elohim said, behold, the man is to become as one of us to know good and evil. Another question came about. It says, and Yahuwah Elohim said, behold, this man has become as one of us. Who is as one of us? Because the word of is a prepositional phrase. This is rendered in the Hebrew. And Yahuwah said, behold, the man is become as one from us to know good and evil. So who was the one that was from us that Adam learned from to know good and evil? My argument is that the one that was from the Elohim, I showed now that the author here, or the translator here now, is showing a capital ELOHIM and a lowercase ELOHIM, with the understanding that there are no capital letters in Hebrew, but they're trying to differentiate now the conversation that's being held. There's a conversation that is being held with Adam where the Elohim, the righteous ones, are having with him, and then there's an Elohim with a small cap now that knows consequences. Adam and Eve now are facing consequences. So the one from us, the one that was from them, is the lowercase ELOHIM. And this is now the falling nature of Adam. And in ending, Mishpachar, because there's really not too much more outside of this here, is that in Genesis, the 5th chapter, and this would be the last one, to show you now the difference with Adam's relationship that he had in the garden versus outside of the garden. Look at Genesis, the 5th chapter. Genesis, the 5th chapter. Bereshit, the 5th chapter. Watch how this reads. The 5th chapter, verse 1. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that the Father created man, in the likeness of Elohim made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their names Adam. In the day that they were created. Watch verse 3. And Adam lived 130 years and begot a son in his own likeness. When Adam was expelled from the garden, my argument is that everything that comes from Adam now is in his fallen nature. It's not in his right nature anymore. Seth was created in the image of fallen Adam. Verse 3 again. And Adam lived 130 years and begot his son in his own likeness after his image, and called his name Seth. So, Mishpachar, I'm a little under the weather. I've had this flu thing going on for quite some time now, and I'm trying to medicate that. So, kind of losing my voice here a little bit. I'm a little bit under the weather, but I am up for some questions regarding the Genesis, the 3rd chapter, and anything else that I might have said.
because I want to make sure that there's clarity. If I might have made a mistake with anything, give me the opportunity to correct it. And if anybody wants a copy of the presentation, I can send it to you. And that way you can look over it and even check out the scripture that I've used to present my argument here this afternoon.
All right, family. Total Rabbah to the brother.
Hallelujah. Prince, hold on one quick second. 1 second. Just. Okay, great. I'm up for the questions.
All right, is that better?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, everything is told me, yo.
All right, family. You heard that lesson. Excellent lesson from the brother. He presented it with best his understanding as the Most High allowed him to obtain that knowledge. He presented some things that maybe you want to question. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free. Type it in the room. If you're on the panel, you can just begin asking your question. If you're in the room, please type it in so we can address the questions. Please, no question is a dumb question. No question is a dumb question. Any question that you may have is able to give knowledge to someone else and open up their mind just by reason of the answer. All right, so feel free, ask any question that you may have. Does anyone have any questions? Can't hear you, bro.
Hey,
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
sir. I can hear you now.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Here we go.
I'm not sure if you all can hear me. I'm not hearing anything.
Yes.
All right.
I can hear you.
I just
real
wanted
good.
to comment. Oh, I'll turn my sound off. That's why. So I just wanted to comment on one of the parts that stuck out the most out of everything that you mentioned, which there was a lot of powerful things in there, was the relating what happened with Adam and the adversary and Hawa, his wife. I thought it was important as to what you brought out as far as a person going to the wife instead of going to their husband first. I think that's extremely important. I think Princess put in the chat, I think that was Princess said, or that was Zakana to Celia, one of the two, that said divide and conquer. And I think that even if a person isn't doing it on purpose, once you recognize that that trait or that characteristic is what you're operating in, this lesson, this portion of what he brought out is something to help us change it. Understand that structure, that order, come to that husband. Go to that husband, because if you go to the wife, and again, like you said, it's not to take away the intelligence and things of the woman, but you might bring something to the wife, and then now you cause something in the home where they're going at each other, due to something that might have been presented. So I think that it's important to address the home properly, especially for married individuals. Sometimes those that's not married won't understand it, and sometimes that those that are married won't understand it. But I pray due to this lesson that was grasped a little bit, because that will help a lot of our marriages.
May the Most High be praised. Pray, anything you want to add to that? Moreh Kasad, you want to add anything to that?
No, I believe that is very important. As I do a lot of counselings, that's usually what happens is that it's how the adversary is actually working. Is how a lot of times, even now, see, it even goes to the point where monitoring who your Isha is actually listening to, even in Torah. Because if you're teaching a certain doctrine, and if your Isha is listening to another Moreh who's teaching something different, and you see your Isha saying, well, that Moreh is doing it this way and that way, that can also be a problem. Let me just try to share this again. I don't rule my house with an iron fist. I don't do that. But I am careful with who my Isha listens to, who my children listen to. It gets that defined, even to the point where if even family and friends or doing things or saying things contrary to how I run things in my house. And again, not ruling with an iron fist where, where we can't sit down and talk. But if it gets to the point where it becomes a challenging situation, even the family would have to be cut off. Because I have to keep this shalom, this unity in the house. And this is what I'm learning from the story of Adam. I believe that he should have been more protective in understanding what the father wanted him to do. Because my argument is that before the woman came into the picture, Adam already had a relationship with the father. And so for the purpose of, everything else was procreating. And I'm not saying that a woman, she's only good for bringing forth children. That's not what I'm saying. Because that companionship is beautiful. It is so beautiful. But I also want it to be understood is that the animals and the dominion inside of the Garden of Eden, that was already established before Eve got there. It was already there. He just needed to maintain it. And what I see brothers do is that they get hypnotized by these desires that the adversary showed Eve. And so now it becomes a thing where he's no longer operating on a spiritual level where, you know what, if she's not going to give me the quabba tonight, then the man goes into disarray. And so whatever it is that she's asking for, he's going to do it because he wants that intimacy that night. Where she begins to cut off things. And it didn't say this in scripture. It didn't say this. But what I can clearly say is this. Adam was placed with a choice. Follow Torah or the commandments of the Father, or listen to your Isha. Adam chose the latter. He chose to follow his Isha. One quick story. A young couple just came into the walk. Valentine's Day came about. The sister didn't get any cards, the candy, and the teddy bears. She didn't get any of that. She's upset because there's other women, their husbands and boyfriends are surprising them where candies and cookies are coming to the job.
Israelite people, right?
That's the ultimate love there. Because I'm displaying my love for you by having flowers brought to your job. But this particular brother who was new in the walk didn't give his Isha anything. So she's upset the whole day and all night. He wants to be intimate with her. She says she's not really in the mood. They begin to talk about it. He goes out, long story short. He goes to like one of those little gas stations where they have like the booths set up with the teddy bears and the cookies and the candies and stuff like that. He goes out, buys those things for her, gives it back to her. All of a sudden, she's in the mood. So my argument is that there has to be some type of stability inside of the household. And long story short is that, you know what, she's not with him today. So it didn't work. She still left. It didn't work. So what we're asking for here is that I believe that my father, Adam, my mother, Eve, my father, Adam, should have been stronger in that relationship that he had with the father and this is what I pray that brothers and sisters will be able to get out of today, is that there has to be leadership inside of the household.
All right. I have a few questions for you, but
Yes,
I want
sir.
to address the Sister Trucilia's question first. If anyone else have any questions, please type it in the room. Sister Trucilia says, do you think that the penalties given to the man and the woman are parallel by design in their duties and functions in relations to producing fruit?
Okay, do you think that the penalties given to the man, okay, then his responsibility to labor, and the woman parallel by design? So you're talking about the punishments, the difference in the punishments between the two?
Yeah, she's asking, in my opinion, I think she's asking, do you think that, like, with the women being able to be in labor and it hurt, the women have to be a helpmate to the man, basically do everything in the home, within the household, the man go out and work. Do you think all that was parallel as the punishment is that was designed to the punishment that they brought forward?
Oh, absolutely, I believe that. I do.
Okay.
I do. I believe that we're suffering the repercussions of what Adam actually did in the garden. I believe it's, and even Ezra made mention of that. Oh, Adam, what hast thou done? And so again, we're suffering the repercussions of what happened in the garden, and we're looking for that day where we're no longer being held responsible for some of the sins of our forefathers.
All right, I have a few questions for you. Very good explanation. Now I'm going to take up a little bit of your time, so bear with me.
Okay.
All right. Now there's a theory that the men don't go to work, but yet the women go out and work and bring the money home to the man, because the man has to study spiritually to get prepared to teach the word of the Creator. And a lot of those males that I see have these type problems that you're speaking of right now, the ones that where it's very difficult for them to keep a wife for any substantial amount of time. Not all of them. Some of them pass the test, but there have been few that I have had to counsel myself, where it's been very difficult. But what we're talking about here is in order in keeping the home and running the home according to Torah, and how you understand and how you explain it to be. Could you give us your views on that first?
I've heard brothers use the Proverbs 31, where the woman goes out, in the snow, and she's bargaining, and she's selling, and she's bringing all of the things that she sold throughout the day back home to the house, and she's taking care of the household. No, I don't believe culturally now. I don't have any issues with a woman working for the family. We do see Rebecca. We do see there was another sister too. We see Rebecca, and I believe, was it Sarah? These women, they worked inside of the house. I mean, they drew water. There were things that they were doing, but I don't believe that a woman should be the main contributor to the house. I take issues with a woman getting up, going to work, if the man is still in the bed asleep. I don't see that in scripture at all. That would make me feel bad. So no, I'm not an advocate of a woman going out and providing for the house that way. Now, but I do understand this also, is that we're living in some real serious times, and the way that inflation is, the way that things are just happening today, until we come together as a community, I do see where it's kind of like hard to function with one paycheck. You will need some type of education, because the way that I see it and what's going on in my surrounding area, if a man was renting or leasing an apartment in a decent neighborhood, This is in a decent neighborhood. Where when he comes back home, his furniture is still there, and he can leave his car in the driveway at night. You're looking to pay about $2,300 a month. That does not include lights, groceries, and the maintaining of her female supplies, your supplies, and the children. I mean, it really takes a lot. So the average income, if you're not living inside of a community, in order for a house to function, if your mortgage or your lease is now $2,300, excuse me, if it's $2,300 a month, you will need comfortably to make a little over $100,000 a year. And if you was to look at statistics, the average Hebrew, AKA black man, is not doing over $100,000 a year. And so this is where things become compromising, where I would suggest that if a woman could, if she can work from home, but anytime, once again, you have someone else telling your Isha what to do, is going to now compromise a couple of things here. One more example, because I like examples, is that, and again, we don't mention names here. There was a sister, she had a very prominent position at her job. And so for her to hear all day, people are asking her, both men and women, they're asking her permission to do X, Y, and Z because she has that job title. And then it became very difficult for her, being a doctor, to come home to her husband, who was a blue-collar worker. It was hard for her to take off that doctor title and now become a wife. Real hard. Because what was difficult in that particular situation, me having that type of a title as doctor, if I'm doing surgery, that means that I have in the palm of my hands the power to heal life. And then for me to come home now and make you a glass of lemonade, or to fix you a dinner, it was kind of hard for that couple to do that. So
what you're talking about right now is a lot of that is going to come out in the lesson on our second half today at 3:00.
Okay.
I got a very powerful lesson prepared for 3:00 today, and it's going to cover a lot of the subject under the same tone that you're presenting right now. But in just response to what you're saying right now, with the women having a difficulty adjusting her behavior, and a lot of men not making money in finances, all that leads up to several different things. Some people will say that what you're asking for, what you're presenting in your lesson today, is too controlling. A lot of women will say that's too controlling for a woman. They don't want to submit themselves and allow a man or a male to have that type of superiority or dominance over their lives. What would be your suggestion for them?
Like I made mention earlier, before I came into the Hebraic walk, I also studied the Quran a little bit, and I studied the teachings of Louis Farrakhan. And I have found more understanding on how a family functions overall with the teachings of Louis Farrakhan and how they organize how they structure their community than I have amongst a lot of the Israelite groups. The principles, even to the point of clothing, how women are supposed to dress, the way that it's done in Islam, the way that it should be done in the Hebrew community, and how relaxed a lot of the Hebrew communities are. And I'm like, wow, Ishmael, if we are to believe through Keturah, is the progenitor of the Ishmaelites, and Ishmael was son of Abraham, who also understood the right way of doing things. And we that are Israelites can't take that firm stance inside of our households with our ishas is because the fact that I'll leave. And so, is the man willing to have his isha leave in order to establish right ruling in his house? I grew up in an era where I've gotten indoctrinated by the OJs, by the Temptations, by the Commodores. These guys here, well, all they were saying is, baby, 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 please. Baby, don't leave me. Baby, I love you. Baby, I'll drink your bath water. Baby, I pay your rent. Baby, just please, baby, please. Baby, please don't leave me. Baby, forgive me, baby, baby. This is all I just heard. And so growing up, I saw that practice being displayed even with the side of my own personal family. Nigga, get out. And then you heard now, and the reason why it made it so easy for me to hear that type of conversation growing up is because what I believe that has handicapped the so-called Black family is when they introduced welfare into our systems. They had this thing called Section 8, because I grew up in Newark. What would happen now was that there were women who only paid anywhere, I'm gonna be reasonable, like 20, 25, 30 bucks for rent. They would pay the electricity bill. They was getting food stamps. So why do they need you? And so it was easy for them to say, listen, Negro, get out. And so I saw, and I grew up in the single family households, and I've heard, nigga, get out. The government is giving me welfare. I'm on Section 8. I don't really need you. And we see that happening even a lot today. I mean, like I was explaining to my Isha a couple of days ago, what you see today is the result of the era that I grew up in the 80s. The crack epidemic, the cocaine epidemic, that whole era there where they were poisoning our people, and it was also at the same time giving our women public assistance. And no, I don't need you. I had an aunt, when the social worker came, was on her way there, she had to remove anything inside of the house that resembled a man, an Afro pick, weights, the weights of dumbbells, anything that showed signs of a man, she had to get those things out of the house in order to keep getting the public assistance. I grew up in that era. I saw those things. So this is the reason why seed, getting that rightful, that woman that is really down for you, that really understands Torah, and you being able to now, as a man, to set the rules inside of your household. Baby, I love you. I do. But if you're asking me now to jeopardize my position in Torah, I can't do that. I love you. I do. But I can't jeopardize my situation. So if there's a problem in the household, let's sit down, let's talk about it, and let's see if we can try to resolve the situation according to Torah.
Very wonderful. All right, so now, coming to the end, can you put a conclusion to the matter? How do you tie all of this that you spoke about today to the title of your lesson? Bring it to a conclusion.
The war between the two seeds.
Yes.
There's a disagreeable seed that's out here. This whole thing with Esau, I believe that Esau is the end of the world. Looking at even the whole thing with Daniel in his vision, and looking at the Roman Empire, and looking at this last regime, this last power that is up existing today. I believe that Israel's enemies today are the Edomites and the Ishmaelites. And the reason why is because Esau believes that Jacob took his birthright, and Ishmael, Hagar's son, believes that Ishmael should have been the heir. And I speak to a lot of Muslims today, they still believe, they say that Ishmael was the rightful heir. And so it's a war between who is the right successor. And being that there's a lot of differences of opinion on who's the rightful heir, who are the chosen people, I believe that there's a disagreeable seed that is pumping now wrong information into the ears of our sons and daughters. And what we need to do is go back to basics. And the basics is understanding Torah. And that's the war between the two seeds.
Okay, very good. Torah Rabbah. Now, remember, family, we're coming back at 3 o'clock. We have the second portion of our class today at 3 o'clock today. And that chapter will be, the whole lesson will be based off of Isaiah 30 and 10. Speak unto us smooth words. Don't tell us what the Creator had to say. Remember that. And that's going to be a powerful lesson. We got it, already ready. And we're also going to do a lot of different things. So join us if the Creator allows you to be. Remember to share and like our channel. And anytime you're welcome, come in. Let's all give a round of applause for our guest speaker today.
All the esteem belongs to the Father. All the esteem to the Father. To the Father. To the Father. Hallelujah.
May the Most High continue to bless you. May the Most High continue to cause your household to prosper. Lakely Shalom Ben Yotzeh. Torah Rabbah.
Rabbi Shalom, Mr. Cotton. I'll tune in at 3 o'clock. I'll be there.
All right. Go in peace with the Most High. Shalom,
Okay.
shalom, everyone.
Okay, shalom, shalom.
Rosh, did you have something you want to say, Rosh?
Powerful lesson. May Most High bless and guard you and yours and your message. I love the message. That's the center of our message. The home has to be protected and in its rightful place. So we appreciate you for coming in and bringing that powerful message. Shalom lecha.
Shalom, shalom,
Right.
Mr. God.
Anybody
Shalom,
else on the
shalom.
board want to mention anything?
Shabbat Shalom, great lesson. Torah Rabbah.
Torah Rabbah.
Shalom, shalom.
All right, bro. Creator willing, we see you later on. Shalom, shalom.